Let's get it on then, shall we? Mwah. Welcome to Sex on the Peach, your weekly hump day dose of everyone's favourite untalked about topic, sex. Let's get honest, let's get open, let's get comfortable, and let's get in to this week's show. Friends, lovers, listeners, happy Wednesday, happy hump day, and happy Sex on the Peach day. This is a bit of a last minute episode, but I've been receiving a lot of messages about a sex event I attended recently. And as I had intended to do an episode delving into the sex party world anyway, I thought I would just try and answer some of your questions here today. Now, sex parties are a topic that's as intriguing as it is often misunderstood. Contrary to popular belief that this is a new trend, sex parties, yes, shrouded in mystery and allure, have been part of human culture for centuries, like your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were probably having a phenomenal old time. So, whether you are curious about what really happens at these parties, considering attending one yourself, or simply interested in understanding the dynamics, this episode is for you. This episode is in affiliation with Dominium Vita, the company whose event I attended the other week. And as you know, I don't ever promote or work with a company without my own personal positive experiences. And today we will be delving into their events, rules, etiquette, ethos, and mission. So settle in, keep an open mind, and let's embark on this journey together and demystify this often taboo subject. Let's get into it, shall we? Here is, get this, sex party started. Okay, so not to get all history teacher on you, unless that's your thing, but let's take a little minute to just explore the origins of the sex party. You're used to me and my science lessons by now, but today I'm switching out as a historian. What you're going to do? And I mean, if you have to learn the history of anything, why not a sex party? Because as I've said already, these gatherings are not a modern invention. We're going to roll it back to literal fucking ancient Rome. And the festivals in honour of Bacchus, the god of wine, would love to be his friend, to be fair. Imagine being the god of fucking wine. Anyway, they were notorious for their hedonistic indulgences. And these started as religious ceremonies, but quickly evolved into wild parties characterized by excessive drinking, dancing, and sexual activities. Honestly, it's like me escaping from the convent. So, even back then, these events were seen as a way to break free from societal norms and celebrate pleasure. We love. We're obsessed. And another prominent aspect of Roman hedonism was, of course, the orgies, which you've probably seen at some point in your life depicted in literature or art, whether you've wanted to or not. Now, these gatherings were definitely less about religion and more about just keeping it real and indulging in sexual pleasure. So whether you are into the Romans or not, I would like to say thank you to them, because the orgies of Rome set a historical precedent for the spicy combination of ritual, of secrecy, and indulgence that many modern sex parties are still embodying today. But let's move it along, shall we? And let's fast forward to the mid-20th century. And there was a significant shift with the sexual revolution of the 1960s and 70s. And this era gave rise to the swinging scene, which has obviously played a pivotal role in shaping modern perceptions of sex parties. And friends, here it is. Fight me on this, please, I dare you. But people have been challenging these societal ideals since the beginning of goddamn time, because the swinging lifestyle emerged as couples wanted to challenge the conventional norms of monogamy. It was about exploring sexual freedom and intimacy in a consensual and open environment. And these parties were, yes, a little more discreet and more often than not taking place in people's private homes. But the swinging scene emphasized mutual consent, trust, and the thrill of sexual adventure. It was born as both a rebellion against these conservative values and a way for people to explore new dimensions of their sexuality within a safe community. Now, I'm not going to lie. I never feel like an old soul, but I feel like that might have been my era. Okay, last bit of the Sex on the Beach history lesson. By the late 20th century, sex parties had found a new home in the underground clubs of major cities such as New York, Berlin, Paris, and these places became the epicenters of sexual exploration. And these clubs of the 80s and 90s were heavily influenced by the LGBTQ+ community, which sought spaces where they could freely express their sexuality, because that is what these events are supposed to be. But more on that later. Clubs like New York's infamous Studio 54, yes, that's right, to all of my musical theatre pals who are doing your concerts there nowadays. It wasn't always quite so tame, so keep that in mind next time you're giving it your best I Dreamed a Dream up there. And Berlin's Kit Kat Club became legendary for their open attitudes towards sex, sexuality, sensuality, nudity. And these clubs provided a safe space for people to explore their fantasies away from judgment, focusing on liberation, experimentation, having themed nights, performances, all things that push the boundaries of conventional sexuality. Okay, history lesson over. You're all A-star pupils if you've made it this far. So, from ancient Rome to the clubs of today, sex parties have continually evolved and, yes, reflect the slightly changing attitudes towards sexuality and freedom. But what they share is a common thread of challenging those fucking societal norms and celebrating human sexuality in its many, many forms, which I'm obviously obsessed with. And if you don't know that about me by now, then I don't really know what to say. And Dominium Vita, the company whose event I attended the other week and who this podcast episode is in affiliation with, is based on the culture of ancient Rome and their pioneering of hedonism and opulence. So we've actually come full circle. What a fucking plot twist. But now that we've taken a journey through the history of sex parties, here's my history of sex parties. I attended my very first sex party, sex event, play event when I was around 19 years old. And the first events I attended were that of a company called Torture Garden. And that came about because I was working in a bar, and one of the people who owned that bar also helped run the Torture Garden events. And when we got talking about the world of sex, because I've always been open-minded about it and always thought that we don't talk enough about it, and he told me about the Torture Garden events, he said, if you ever want to come along and just scope it out and see what it's like, then you are more than welcome. And so that's really how my sex event journey began, because I went, met like-minded people, talked with people who led that lifestyle more frequently, and it was so interesting. And yes, I was young, and of course, the first time I ever went, seeing people explore their fantasies in such an open and free way was very liberating, but I had a lot to learn then. Even though I've always considered myself non-judgmental, there were still things, of course, I saw that I don't know that I was expecting to. And I have to be honest about that. And now I live in a space where there is no kink shaming, there's no fetish shaming. Whatever people are into, I want to support that and make sure they always have a safe space. But that doesn't mean the first time I came across it, having come from a position of not really talking about sex all that much because no one did, some things felt a little jarring, but I also am so glad that was my experience, because it taught me not to judge. It taught me not to have internalized kink shame just because sex had been such a taboo subject and I just didn't know that much about it. And I didn't understand kinks in a way that I do now and have done for a long time. And that was the only company whose events I really attended for a long time. And then I had a long break. I was in a lot of long-term relationships, and that wasn't really our journey together. And then when I attended a few years later, I had noticed a bit of a shift in the sex party space. And this is something that I definitely wanted to touch on. I don't want sex events, play parties, to become a trend, an Instagram trend, a TikTok trend. And that's what I started to see. It sort of seemed to be filled with people who were there so that they could say they'd been there. And I'm not here to shame anyone who has going to a sex party on their bucket list, as long as it is a genuine desire. And not just to say that you've been, or to prove a point, or to try and look cool, because that dilutes the space that these events are trying to create. They are a place to go and live out something that for the longest time has been stigmatized, has been looked down on, has potentially previously made someone feel shame or embarrassment. So if you really want to attend a sex event, amazing. But please, please do know that you are doing it for the right reasons. And let's keep these spaces safe for the people who need them. I hope that has come across well. I don't want to have a go at anyone. I don't want it to sound like that, but I just really want to keep these spaces for what they were meant to be and not let them be diluted by trends or hashtags or anything that this modern world seems to bring that way. But that is my history with the sex party, and I am grateful for it, because I think for me it was definitely a huge source of education. Yes, at a young age, but it taught me a lot, and I'd like to think maybe it is one of the reasons I was then able to grow up with a very open-minded view on sex. So thank you, Torture Garden, for the introduction. Now, the first question that was sent in to me for today was, please can you tell us a bit more about the event you went to the other night? Do people go just to have sex with each other? Do you have to have sex if you go? And is it an anything goes kind of place, so whatever you are into, you can do? Sorry for the multiple questions, I'm intrigued. For a start, please don't ever apologise for the multiple questions, whether it's 5 or 50, that's literally what I'm here for. And I'm hoping that over the course of this whistle-stop tour of all things sex party guidance, I will cover all of these bases. So, what really happens at these events? Well, for a start, sex parties do come in many forms. You can find private parties, which are often much more intimate gatherings, and they will be hosted by people or small groups in private homes usually. And these are not the types of parties I'm as familiar with and not what we will be focusing on today. But if anyone does have any questions about that kind of lifestyle, then obviously, as you know, my door is always open, and that's definitely a side of things we can do an episode on at a later date. I do have a couple who have absolutely nailed, no pun intended, this lifestyle and are happy to come on and chat with me about it. So we can pop a pin in that one. Because what we're looking at today are the public parties like the one I attended with Dominium Vita, which are typically held in clubs or other public venues and are open to a broader audience. They usually require membership, Dominium Vita definitely does, or an entry fee, and I'm not exaggerating, and we're going to get into this in a bit. They also require strict adherence to their rules and codes of conduct. And this is what maintains a safe and consensual atmosphere. So public parties offer that chance for people to experience sexual freedom in a larger setting. Sometimes these are also themed. That might be masquerade, BDSM, or fantasy roleplay. And these parties are fantastic for people who love to immerse themselves in a different world, whether that is just dressing up, whether that is engaging in heavy fetish, whatever might be your jam. Basically, it's a way to explore your fantasies in a playful, structured environment. But very importantly, let's get into the etiquette of a sex party. At the heart of any sex party is the very crucial role of consent and communication. These are non-negotiable, and they are the literal foundation of a safe and enjoyable experience at an event. Like, you will not find a more consensual environment, which I know people might find surprising at the thought of an event where anything goes, but the consent is a whole different ballgame. Consent should obviously be an ongoing, enthusiastic, and clear agreement between everyone involved in a sexual encounter anyway, but at a sex party or event, this does mean constant check-ins and clear communication about boundaries and desires. It is very important for everyone to feel that they can express their limits without fear of repercussion. And everyone who has ever attended a sex or a play event has probably wondered or asked, how do you instigate or initiate sex with someone at an event? And navigating those dynamics of an event, especially when you are new to them, can be very daunting. And the truth is, the key is in your approach, and that is to treat everyone quite simply with respect and consideration. If you find yourself drawn to someone, start a genuine conversation. Talk about boundaries, gauge their interest in the evening, in the event, and then if it feels right, you can suggest maybe checking out the playroom together. It's all about understanding and respecting each other's comfort levels. Now, my number one love, communication, is vital, and using it to ask for consent, whether it's a simple touch, an invitation to join in, or initiating play, is basically the fucking law, as it should be. And most importantly, be prepared for any answer and respect it fully. No is a word that you will hear. And contrary to popular belief, It's not an anything goes environment in the respect that you can just do whatever you please. And it is a word that should be accepted without hesitation. Participation is not a given just because you are there. And honestly, if you are only approaching these events with the mindset of, what can I do to make someone have sex with me? It might be worth reassessing if this is the right environment for you. And also, reassess your mindset while you're at it, to be honest, because that just ain't it, babe. But remember, the essence of these events is mutual respect and open communication. So approach every interaction with that in mind. When someone sets a boundary, it's vital to honor it and move forward. Yes, rejection is never nice, it's never easy, but it's not a personal attack. We all have our limits, we all have our preferences. So while it can be tough to swallow, it is essential to leave our egos behind in these settings. We all know I want sex to be an ego-free zone anyway, but even more so in one of these events, because respect for each other is key. And that means accepting each other's boundaries without taking it to heart. And communication also extends to understanding the rules and expectations before you even attend. Many parties have written guidelines to ensure that everyone is on the same page regarding consent. So let's look at some of the guidelines you would need to agree to should you ever decide to attend a Dominium Vita event. If you are there to just watch or observe, you must never touch anyone without their explicit permission. You do not ever interrupt a scene. If people are in the middle of play, you cannot walk up, touch them, or expect to get involved. You always must ask first if you wish to join. If your partner is participating in a scene without you, everyone involved must verbally consent for you to join. Watching is fine, but be mindful of your limits. Sitting next to someone uninvited and staring can make them feel uncomfortable. And if you enjoy watching, that's great, but you have to refrain from solo play because the participants cannot give permission, and that makes it a non-consensual act. If you are playing, remember you are in a shared environment, so enjoy yourself, but do not monopolize large areas. You have to maintain cleanliness and hygiene because whilst people are available to help, you got to leave those areas as you found them so that other people can also enjoy the area. Do not interrupt other scenes. Even during play, you got to obtain consent before touching anyone else. And if you want someone to join your scene, everyone involved must consent before the new person can participate. If consent is not given, decide whether to continue playing without the new person or leave the scene to play with them separately. Now, these rules aren't chill and something for you to fuck about with. There are consequences, and if you disrespect any of the consent expectations at an event, you are out. Like if only our criminal justice system would take such a stance on consent. But safety is paramount at sex parties. Organisers go to huge lengths to create these environments where people can feel secure and respected, so don't be the person to screw that up, please. A safe environment is essential for people to feel free, to explore their sexuality without fear. To protect everyone's privacy, there is a strict no photo or video policy at all events, and you'll always be given stickers to cover up your phone cameras. Excessive intoxication is not tolerated. This is not an excuse for you to go somewhere and get absolutely shit-faced. No one should feel pressured to engage in any activity they are not comfortable with, and participation is entirely voluntary. So no, you do not have to have sex if you go to an event. I mean, you don't have to have sex if you don't want to ever, but you absolutely do not have to have sex at an event. And no, people don't only go to have sex with each other. People often quite simply go to meet sexually like-minded people. You can literally treat it like having a drink at a bar if you want. Ironically, given what people seem to think about sex parties, they are an incredibly low-pressure environment. A lot of people attend events because of the people, because there is just a different vibe when you are in an environment where everyone feels free to be themselves. You just have the option and a safe space to engage in sexual play should the mood take you. The consensual, communicative, respectful mood, of course. I will say as well, the monitors at a Dominium Vita event are amazing. They are kind, they are helpful, they are so accommodating. So if you are at an event, don't ever feel nervous to approach the people who are there to help you. That's literally what they are there for. And feeling overwhelmed or uneasy is not it. And they are literally there to support you. Is someone making you feel uncomfortable? Is someone too drunk? Are you concerned about the safety of another person? Any of these things should be brought to someone at an event because unease and worry do not a sexual atmosphere make. Respectful and safe environments are what make these events the places they are. So if your concern is that a sex party is not a safe place to be, they are honestly some of the safest environments I've ever been in. I mean, literally safer than some of my ex-partners have treated me in the safety of my own bedroom. Not to make it dark, but the truth be the truth. And also, very importantly, as I would like to think most event companies are, but Dominium Vita is committed to an inclusive and respectful environment, just like this podcast. And any form of racism, homophobia, transphobia, discrimination, it is not going to be tolerated. That includes classism, fetishization, body shaming, abusive power dynamics, kink shaming. You get what I'm saying. And thank you, Dominium Vita, because this is the shit that we need to see. And let's talk about something that stops most people from attending a sex event. The dress code. Now, many sex parties have specific dress codes, and they can range from formal attire to lingerie or themed costumes, which help set the tone and, yes, contribute to the event's atmosphere. They're not just about the aesthetics. They help create a shared experience, and that can be a great way to ease into the event's vibe. Every play party has its own unique dress code, and at DV, they encourage you to embrace an outfit that makes you feel at your most sexy and your most confident. For most of their events, cocktail attire strikes the right balance because it's stylish, but it's not overly formal. It helps you to feel comfortable and ready to enjoy the night. They have an amazing guide reel on their Instagram page, which I really recommend you check out. And that ranges from the more low-key options to the more explorative, which is really helpful. Some events might be super formal, allowing you to really dress up and indulge in the glamour of the event. Others might have creative themes, and for a fetish night, full fetish gear will be expected. So think bold. Think eye-catching, something far beyond everyday wear that you might pop on to run to Tesco. You know what I'm saying. They can range from masquerades to fantasy attire, but whatever event you are attending, you can always check the specific dress code for each event. And if you are uncertain about your outfit choice, don't hesitate to reach out. You can feel safe to discuss your planned attire, and most teams will assist you in ensuring that you are perfectly dressed for the occasion. So don't let your wardrobe be the thing that holds you back from attending that sex party that you really want to go to. Okay, let's talk about sexual health. Now, most play events will offer condoms for free. They will be placed around the venue so that they are accessible, but also you can always come prepared with your own as well, especially if you have a specific brand or size that you prefer. If you are attending with a long-term partner or a regular playmate and you have both agreed to skip the protection, that's okay. But if you are getting down and dirty with someone new, here's the golden rule. No glove, no love. Plain and simple. Any kind of sex without a condom needs to be mutually agreed beforehand. Obviously, you have to be responsible for your own sexual health. So if you are attending events, if you are going to attend an event, you need to be making sure that you are getting tested. You need to be willing to disclose anything that might be necessary to any potential partners. Sexual health is not a thing to fuck around with if you are attending events and potentially having sex with multiple people. So don't be an asshole. Get checked. Disclose the necessary information, wear protection. Moving on. Where do you have sex? Now, the play space will vary depending on the event because some venues might allow play throughout the entire space and others might restrict it to designated rooms. And that will be dependent on the venue size, the number of people attending, and obviously the venue policies. So just make sure you review what that rule is before you attend. And wherever play is permitted, you will find comfortable furniture specifically arranged for that purpose. Yes, there might be beds, there might be mattresses. Some events might just have comfortable furniture like large sofas. There will be equipment like BDSM equipment, but regardless of what the specific venue is, there will be dedicated areas equipped for you to indulge in play activities. And you will always be shown those areas when you arrive. Now, what's the difference between a play event and a fetish event? So, a play party is more a collective term to encompass all the events where various forms of play are permitted. So, it's basically an event centered around sexual play, sexual encounters, sexual experiences, eroticism. And on the other hand, a fetish event is precisely as its name suggests, an occasion dedicated to exploring fetish. And these events get into the diverse and more underrepresented forms of sexual expression. Now, attending a fetish event doesn't necessarily mean you have a huge personal interest in fetish. Maybe you are just curious, but it does require respect for those who do. So, what motivates us to attend sex parties? Well, listen, I promise you, way more people are going to sex parties than you think. Humans are inherently curious beings, and exploring different aspects of our sexuality is just a natural extension of that curiosity. And sex parties offer a very unique opportunity to experience and experiment with various sexual activities in a safe, consensual environment. This is incredibly liberating for people who want to push their boundaries and discover new aspects of their sexual identity. It's about the journey. It's about the novelty. It's about the excitement of the unknown. Many people find the idea of stepping outside their regular sexual routine and engaging in something new to be fucking thrilling. That sense of adventure is very appealing, and yes, it can really enhance our overall sexual experience. And another interesting aspect is the role of voyeurism and exhibitionism, because obviously these play heavily into the dynamics of sex parties. Voyeurism is deriving pleasure from watching others engage in sexual activities, and it allows people to explore their fantasies without direct involvement. And it can be arousing and fulfilling to observe others, especially in a setting where it's accepted and encouraged. And exhibitionism, on the other hand, is the thrill of being watched. So for many, the act of being observed, it enhances their sexual experience and adds excitement. It's about the performance and the validation that comes from knowing others find watching you attractive or intriguing. So if voyeurism or exhibitionism are kinks that you think you might be into, a sex or a play event is a prime place for you to go and explore those safely. Now, solo or partnered attendance. That is totally your call. Most sex event companies will have plenty of members, regardless of gender, who fly solo and just dive right on into the mix. Some people are cool with going solo and making connections on their own, but if you are feeling a bit nervous about going solo, that's completely fine. You can bring a partner, or you can even bring a friend along for the ride. A lot of couples do come to events, so if you and your partner are into trying that lifestyle, then yes, come as a pair. Just remember, before you step foot into a play event, have a chat with your partner or even your friend about boundaries. Are you cool with them mingling and flirting with others? Do you want some time alone during the night? And most importantly, what are your thoughts on being physically intimate? Are you game, or are you just there for the social scene of it? And once you set those boundaries, try your best to stick to them, because it's better to have that chat up front than deal with the drama later. Some events might not allow solo attendees, so make sure you check beforehand. And also, your attendance might fluctuate depending on what kind of event you might be attending. Each event has its own rules, its own vibe. Some are more geared towards straight people, while others are about celebrating queerness. So before you dive in, have a look around, check out the different events available to you, see where you think you'll feel comfortable, where you'll fit in best, because that's where you will feel at your most relaxed, and that's where you will have your best time. Okay, for people who are in relationships. Now, this is almost a whole topic all of its own, and that's something that I'm currently working on with Dominium Vita, so I'm not going to go heavily into it today. But for couples attending sex parties together, navigating one for the first time can be, yes, very thrilling, but also very nerve-wracking. And the key to having a great experience is, of course, going to lie in your communication with each other. So before you even step foot in that door, take the time to sit down with your partner and discuss your intentions. What are you both hoping to get out of the experience? Are you there to explore? Are you there to watch? Are you there to participate? Set those boundaries, decide what you are comfortable with, discuss if those boundaries are flexible as the night moves, talk about what's off limits, establish a few signals to check in with each other throughout the night. This groundwork is only going to help ease any initial concerns and try to ensure that you are both on the same page. And also, once you arrive at the party, don't rush into anything. Take your time to acclimatize to the environment, because it is new. It takes a little bit of adjustment. So it's perfectly fine to hang back, observe, and get a real feel for the vibe before jumping in. Respect the rules, respect the etiquette of the event. They are in place to ensure everyone's comfort and safety, and just keep remembering there's no pressure to participate in anything you are not ready for. Sometimes just being in the environment and soaking up the atmosphere is a valuable experience on its own. Throughout the night, keep communication open and keep it supportive. Check in with each other regularly to ensure that you are both feeling comfortable and enjoying yourselves. And be honest. If one of you is feeling unsure or uncomfortable at any point, it's so important to voice those feelings and just make adjustments as needed. Maybe one of you wants to slow down, maybe take a break, or even leave early. That's completely okay, because the goal is to explore this new experience together in a way that feels right for the both of you. So just remember to have fun and enjoy the adventure. A sex event, a play party, these can be really unique ways to explore new aspects of your relationship, but it should never feel forced or uncomfortable. So take things at your own pace. Be respectful of others and just focus on creating positive memories together. Embrace the excitement, communicate openly, and continue to support each other throughout the night. And then you've at least set the stage for a memorable and hopefully phenomenal experience. After the event, it's obviously important to debrief with your partner, so find a comfortable space, a comfortable time to talk about the experience with each other. You can share what you enjoyed, what might have made you feel uncomfortable, and any new feelings or thoughts that came up. This is just going to help you process the experience and ensure that you both feel heard and understood. And you can use this time to reassess boundaries and discuss adjustments for any future events. Debriefing, I promise, it will only strengthen your connection and lay the work for even better experiences in the future. Experiencing something like a sex party together might seem daunting, but if it is something that you are into, it can bring you closer together because it creates a new shared sense of adventure and discovery. And a lot of couples do find that these experiences enhance their intimacy and their understanding of each other's desires. And I think that there's something to be said for being part of a community that shares similar interests. And I think that can be really fulfilling because it provides a sense of belonging and acceptance. And even just the potential for sexual liberation, whether you are there as a solo or as a couple, sex parties are incredibly empowering. They offer a space for us all to explore our sexuality freely and openly. And that only leads to a greater understanding and acceptance of ourselves and of each other. And also that kind of exploration just continues to help break down those internalized taboos and help us to embrace our desires and our sexual identities more fully. So I think there's a lot of good things to be taken from a sex event. So if you are considering it, I say give it a go. I'm just going to tap into some of the things that I've been sent this week because people have sent me some experiences, people have sent me some questions. So I'm just going to read out the experiences that people have sent me first. I was always curious about sex parties, but for a long time, I didn't have the courage to attend one. It wasn't until a close friend invited me to a private gathering that I decided to give it a try. The idea of exploring my sexuality in a safe environment was really appealing. It was exhilarating. It was also nerve-wracking. I found the atmosphere surprisingly welcoming, and once I settled in, I found it amazing to be in a space where I could openly express myself without judgment. Well, I am glad that after the original nerves surpassed, that you had such a positive experience. I think that is amazing. I hope that it encouraged you to try further events if that's something that you want to do, but this is what we love to hear. Initially, when I went to my first event, it was just because I felt I needed something new and exciting. However, what I found was that it helped me understand my desires and boundaries even better. Being in an environment where everyone was so open about their desires made me feel more confident in my own skin. It has also helped me communicate better in my personal relationships. Again, what a testament. This is gorgeous. I love that so many of you have been trying events and having such good times. So I love to hear that. What surprised me the most about attending a sex party was the sense of community. These events are not just about sex, they are about connection and acceptance. I met so many like-minded people who have become close friends. As it was a space where you can be yourself, explore desires, and support others in their journey, I found that the friendships I've formed through these communities have been amazing. I love this. So as I've said, it's not just about turning up and fucking. Like, people are finding friendships because they are spaces where everyone is free. You might not feel at your freest on your first one, I suppose, because you're also navigating nerves and navigating something completely foreign to you. But once you settle into that lifestyle and you get to know people, you can form amazing friendships. It's not just about the sex, as I've been saying. So I actually love hearing that side of things too. So thank you for sending that in. This one's a little shorter. Our second party, we ended up in a 6-person orgy in a beautiful London location. A much shorter story, but I love it just the same. And lastly, me and my partner went to Quest, Leeds to see what the lifestyle was about. Ended up in a room with 2 other couples and absolutely loved it. Had time out for a short while, but looking to attend more clubs and events too. Gorgeous. I don't know if you are based in Leeds or where you are based, so please do feel free to hit me up and I will try to make some recommendations as best I can. If you are outside of London, I'd love to try and find some good recommendations for you. I'm mostly a London gal, but I can definitely find those out for you and pass them on. So please do follow up and let me know where you are based so I can try and help further with some recommendations for more clubs and events. Okay, so before we close out the episode for today, I'm just going to answer some of the questions that were sent in. So, is it somewhere that partners can go but not have to be open, as in watch others and then just be intimate with each other? Yes, absolutely. I hope I've made that clear through this episode already. But yes, of course, if you and your partner prefer to attend a sex party but only engage intimately with each other, that is entirely valid and entirely acceptable. You can just attend with the intention of simply enjoying each other's company in a sexually charged environment, whilst respecting the activities of anyone else who is there. So again, as I've said, discuss your intentions with your partner before going. Ensure that you are both on the same page regarding participation. And look for sex parties that do explicitly mention that they are voyeur friendly. There will always be people and couples who are interested in observing or exploring without feeling obligated to engage with others. As I've mentioned a million times already, we just always have to be mindful of the boundaries and activities of other people there. And consent remains paramount, even if we are only observing. So yeah, just enjoy that experience of being in such a sexually charged environment with your partner. Use it as an opportunity to enhance your own intimacy and your connection with each other without feeling pressured to interact with others. Obviously, throughout, check in with your partner to make sure that you're both still happy, both still comfortable, both still enjoying yourselves. And if either of you feels uncomfortable, just talk about it, be honest. Attending a sex party with the intention of observing and enjoying each other is a really fun and exciting experience to have. So as long as your communication remains open and you are prioritizing each other, you're going to have a really positive and fulfilling experience, and it's going to be great. So if you do decide to go to one, have the best fucking time. Okay, next question. Do you think it would be okay to go to a sex party on your own as a woman? Yes. Yes. I don't really have much else to say to that. Yes, I mean, I'd like to think so because I've been to many on my own as a woman. So my answer is quite simply, yes, do it. 100%. What advice would you have for a monogamous couple wanting to try out a sex party, or even how to approach asking my partner if they'd want to go to something like that? Well, take a moment to think about why you are interested in attending a sex party. Is it purely out of curiosity, a desire to explore a specific fantasy, or is it to enhance your sexual connection with your partner? Look at what some different sex parties entail, the different kinds of events you could go to, and learn what you might be able to expect, because understanding the different environments and dynamics will help you make an informed decision about what kind of event you might want to put forward to your partner. And then all you can do is find a time when you and your partner are both relaxed and able to have a relatively candid conversation, but create a safe space where you both feel comfortable expressing how you feel about this. And then just start a conversation by sharing your interest in exploring new sexual experiences together. Be honest about why you are interested in attending a sex party and what you hope to gain from the experience for yourself and for each other. And then give your partner the opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings about attending a sex party, because you are going to have to be open to their questions and their concerns without judgment. They may be hesitant. They may be unsure. So it might be something that is a work in progress that you converse about every now and again, because you're going to have to respect their feelings and boundaries too. And pressuring or coercing someone into something they're not really into is never going to be a cute idea, because it's only going to damage trust. It damages intimacy. So it's definitely a conversation that you should have. This is something that you want to do. It's something that you want to experience. So you should find the time to have the conversation, and you don't have to feel ashamed to have this conversation. You know, sit your partner down, tell them it's something that you're interested in, and all you can do is see what they come back with and then go from there. If you do and they come back with an explicit no and you feel like I need some more help, come back to me and I'll try again. But if they are up for it, then you just continue the conversation. You talk about what you're both comfortable with. You talk about what your boundaries might be when you attend. Again, that might be about participation, that might be interaction with others, how to handle any uncomfortable situations that might arise, because I haven't really spoken about it yet on this episode, and it is something that I should touch on. Jealousy is natural. Jealousy is normal. Even if you go into something with the best intentions, you might find yourself in a situation and you're like, fuck, I feel jealous. I don't like this. So if you at least discuss your expectations beforehand, you can even talk about how that might look if an event occurs where you do start to feel jealous, and you can come up with a plan for how you will navigate the event together. That might be something as simple as deciding on a signal or a code to indicate to each other that you feel uncomfortable or that you want to leave. And if you are both open to the idea but still hesitant, I would say an event with more people is probably more helpful, because it's less pressure, because there's so many people there you can kind of go below the radar. Whereas if you choose a smaller event, you might feel like there's more pressure as such. And you might just go have some chats with other monogamous couples who are there to observe, get a feel for it. You might make some great friends, you might have some great conversations, and maybe that's enough, but just talk, communicate about what you want. And even if you do go to one after you've attended, communicate some more. Discuss your time there, what you enjoyed, what were your concerns. It's also a really good opportunity to use things like this to reinforce our bonds with each other and our connections, because the more we talk about this shit, the more we build trust, the more we build intimacy. So it's only good things. And I know approaching the topic might feel daunting, but if you just go in ready to be like, hey, listen, this is something I'm really interested in engaging in, but I want you to do it with me. I want to approach this as a team. Approach it with empathy, approach it with understanding, and I'll keep my fingers crossed that they are receptive. But I think being honest about your desires, whichever way it goes, is always a really positive thing. So find the courage and have the conversation. I hope that they are into it. I hope that you go. I hope that you have a great time. I hope it expands your sexual horizons. So let me know how it all goes. As a married couple, what's the best way to approach additional partners whilst trying to keep a low profile? I don't know what you mean by a low profile. At an event or in life, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to answer the question as best I can about additional partners, because I don't want to get the low profile bit wrong, but also do feel free to follow up and clarify with me if you would like. But as I've said, to start, just make sure that you and your spouse know what you are both looking for. Are you looking to explore together? Are you looking to explore separately? What are your yeses? What are your nos? Just have that very essential discussion. Make sure that you're both on the same page. Make sure that you are both comfortable with the plan. Just agree with what's okay and what's not, whether that's physical boundaries, emotional boundaries. Just know each other's limits. That will help prevent any misunderstandings. I'd say as well, look for events that have good reviews and a good reputation for safe environments for newcomers so that you feel comfortable. I mean, it sounds like from your question, this is your first time. So I hope I've got that right. But when you are at a play party or a play event, you just strike up conversation. Just be friendly and be genuine, because people appreciate authenticity. Introduce yourselves. Mention that you are a married couple exploring together. That transparency is always going to help people understand your dynamic from the get-go. So engage in that conversation, show genuine interest in getting to know the person or the people that you are talking to. Ask questions, listen to their responses, just build rapport and build trust. And then once you feel comfortable, you can be upfront about your situation and what you are looking for. Honesty is so key in these situations. And I think we can be guilty of not always being honest within our sex lives because we've been taught not to. But trust me, at a sex event, honesty is where it's at. And you'll find very quickly that it's really easy to be honest, like way more so than in so many other situations. So feel comfortable explaining that you are new to this and that you are exploring together. And then make sure to ask what they are exploring, what their boundaries are, what their comfort levels are as well. If the person is interested, great. If not, respect their decision and move on gracefully, because as I mentioned earlier in the episode, rejection is a very normal part of the process, and it's just important not to take it personally. It doesn't matter. We move. Also, throughout the event, keep checking in with your partner. Make sure that you are both comfortable, that you are happy. Again, use signals, or you can simply just take moments to step outside and talk. And then if things progress, again, just keep the communication going. It's literally the only answer. But now you keep the communication going with both your partner and the new person or the new couple or the new people, however many people you are getting involved with. Discuss everything with each other. Discuss what you are looking for, discuss your boundaries, and just ensure that everyone is on the same page about what's happening and what's going to happen, because that way everyone involved feels comfortable and respected, and that's how we have our best times. And once it's over, have a little debrief. Talk about what you liked, what you didn't, any new feelings, any new thoughts that came up, because you'll process the experience. And again, if you want to go again, you'll just know better for next time. And if this is your first time exploring that world together, then you may come across feelings of jealousy. You may come across feelings of insecurity. You may come across feelings of inadequacy. All of these things are normal. I don't want that for any of you. I really don't. And I hope that you can everyone listening who ever attends a sex party can do so without those feelings creeping in. But if they do, it's completely normal. It's completely fine. We just got to talk about it and be open about it. And that way we can work through it, So if you do have that experience, that's also okay. And it might mean that you want to reassess your rules for next time, because maybe something worked really, really well, or maybe something didn't feel quite right. So use it as an opportunity to refine your approach for the next time. And just remember, the whole point is to have fun and enjoy yourselves. So go in, keep an open mind, and whatever comes of it, every experience is a chance to learn more about each other and deepen your connection. So enjoy the journey and just have fun exploring together. Last question for today. Was it strange going to the sex party with a friend? How do you just carry on if they've seen you banging someone? I mean, listen, I personally don't think there's anything my close friends could do in front of me that would faze me. I know that's not going to be everyone's experience with their friendship groups. Maybe that's just mine, but I didn't find it strange. Obviously, there's some friends who would feel a lot more comfortable at that kind of event than others would. And the friend that I took, I knew would be completely immersed in the experience and have a great time. So that made life easier because I knew I could leave her to it. And, obviously we chatted about how the night was going to play out, but I don't think I'd ever worry about my friends seeing me have sex. The amount I talk about it and the ins and outs of my sex life that they know anyway, who knows? Maybe seeing it in real life would be more boring than anything they might have conjured up in their head. But we know by now, I'm a shame-free gal. If my friends see me having sex, I've had sex in a room full of my friends before. It's not a problem. It's not a problem to me. But if it's a problem to you, that's also completely fine. And I can 100% appreciate and understand that. So maybe we are just different in that way. But it was not strange going to the party with my friend. She had a good time. I had a good time. And we're closer for it. And that's all I'm going to say on that one. Thanks and good night. Friends, lovers, listeners, I hope that this episode was helpful in terms of understanding just a little more about the sex party world. Attending sex parties, just like any other sexual activity, comes with its own set of risks and rewards. So it's important to always approach these experiences with a clear understanding of the potential physical, emotional, relational risks, whilst also being open to the growth and the pleasure that they can offer. As society continues to kind of evolve, there's hopefully going to be a greater acceptance of diverse sexual expressions and non-traditional lifestyles. So these gatherings will, fingers crossed, also continue to evolve, and then we can offer safe, inclusive and exciting spaces for exploration and connection to literally fucking everyone. Well, everyone who wants to go to one. But I hope this episode has provided some valuable insights and demystified this often very misunderstood topic a little bit for you. And if you are thinking about hitting up a sex event soon, whether that be with Dominium Vita or another company that takes your fancy, please do reach out and let me know if there is any other info that I can help you with. I will be back very soon with a very wonderful guest, and we'll be getting into all things Pride Month here on Queer and Thriving. But for now, thanks for coming. Thank you for tuning in to Sex on the Peach today, and I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find and follow me on Instagram, YouTube and TikTok at Sex on the Peach Cast, and you can also get in touch with me at sexonthepeachcast@gmail.com. Please do continue to like, share, subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and I'll see you next week. Love.